we're approaching the $3 million mark. Switching over from break fix to managed services was my key to success. When I'm break fix, I'm waiting for something to break so I can fix it to build up. But with managed services, I know I have, let's say, 10 customers, say they're going to average about $1,000 a month. That's, $10,000 a month that I know I'm going to be bringing in.
Okay, we're here today with Mario Zaki, CEO and founder of Mazteck. He's an MSP out of New Jersey. Mario was winner of our Better Your Best contest at our most recent boot camp. This is an annual competition of our top performing MSPs who compete to be spokesperson for TMT and have the chance to win an amazing car. The finalists are determined by looking at the growth in key financial and sales KPIs year over year. So congratulations on that achievement. And welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump in here. Can you take us back to the beginning? What motivated you to start your IT services business? What were some of your initial goals?
So it goes back, when I was in college, I actually worked for my uncle he was also in IT. Or actually, before that, I was working, at a Houlihan's, and he told me, "Why don't you come work for me, kind of help out? I know you're not really into IT, but at least come file, do some things, help out the techs, And I started doing it, and I kind of helped around. They would have me put RAM into computers and stuff like that, and I started really enjoying it. And after a while, I became I started they were doing a contest for, who could get their Microsoft certification. And I ended up joining and I was the first one to end up getting certified. And I got really into it. And I was with them for a couple of years, but, working with family after a while, you start bumping heads and stuff like that. I mean, we still work, we still do a lot of work together now, and we still have a good relationship. But it was time for me to spread out. And I ended up kind of just, branching on my own, working out of the house, doing break fix stuff. And to this day, I wake up every morning and I enjoy going to work.
That's great. Did you have when you first formed your business, did you have some initial goals in mind, or was it just to not work for somebody, or did you have some vision in mind, or?
To cover my bills, pretty much was the first thing,
that's a good goal.
But it was more I get to kind of wake up. I didn't have to work on somebody's schedule. Kind of make my own hours, which was fun back then. When it wasn't so busy and hectic. I would if I randomly wanted to take a day off, I just take a day off, and that was the fun part. Now it's impossible to take a day off.
Yeah. I think we're going to talk a little about that work-life balance in a few minutes. I'm curious though, so you've launched the business now and you're going. Was there any point in there that you'd say was a specific turning point or a moment in time that you feel really put you on the path to success?
My moment was when I switched over from break fix to managed services. And for anybody that is watching that did see my presentation, you would know that, when I ended up switching over, and I had a decent client base at that point, at that point I was in business for a couple of years. Switching over from break fix to managed services was my key to the success, because by then I was able to know all right, when I'm break fix, I'm waiting for something to break so I can fix it to build them. But with managed services, I know I have, let's say, 10 customers, say they're going to average about $1,000 a month. That's, $10,000 a month that I know I'm going to be bringing in. And at that point, it can help, knowing that no matter what, $10,000 is coming to you every month, you can go and you could hire somebody, an admin or another technician or a salesperson, or even just rent an office you know, like, I can do this. At the end of the day, I will be able to cover this. So switching over to managed services and having the ability to know that this is what I'm going to be bringing in is what really kind of like it raised my floor. Because break fix, there was times, especially when summer times when people are on vacation, I was sitting home binge watching Netflix because nobody was calling. But switching over to managed services.
So for some kind of context, because, I think that MSP model has evolved over time. I mean, roughly how long ago was that you started to really seriously trying to convert these customers over to managed?
It was in 2019 is where we really, and that was right after I attended a TMT Rapid, in Nashville, Rapid class. And that's where I started kind of learning, before that, I didn't even really know, what managed services was, but that's where I kind of learned about it. And then I was able to speak to some vendors, because back then when you're break fix, and especially before like ransomware and stuff like that, you're okay with like installing like a free antivirus, for customers. You're like, oh yeah, you have one on there, you're good, and auto updates. But once you start going to managed services and like speaking to these vendors is when you're like, oh, wait, I can't just do this. I need to do that. I need to elevate my game. These people are now paying you monthly for something. You need to, when you're putting together your package, you're listing, premium antivirus, backup and stuff like that.
Yeah, just for reference for the listeners, you mentioned Rapid Implementation Workshop is a training that we run people through in one of our peer groups here, our level called accelerators at Technology Marketing Toolkits, just so people know what Rapid means. So I mean, let's talk a little more. If that was really the turning point towards more profitability and cash flow and all. So how did you actually go about that transformation? Did you just send out a letter? Like how'd you do that?
Actually, as a matter of fact, I did, and it's funny because you mentioned I always felt like the names should be reversed. I felt like that Rapid class should actually be called Boot Camp, and Boot Camp could have a different name because Rapid is where I really started learning stuff. Like from 0 to 100 very, I guess rapidly. Yeah. But in there, I was introduced to a campaign that TMT offers called the Good News, Bad News campaign. And this campaign, you send it to all your break fix customers and you tell them, our hourly rate is going to increase significantly. So if you're charging them, $75 an hour, you're increasing them to like $125, and that they would know that every time they call you, they're going to be paying a lot more. But the good news is that we're introducing them to something called managed services, which we set like, okay, it's a flat rate. It includes unlimited support. It includes an antivirus. It includes like proactive maintenance. It includes backup, so it includes a lot of the things that they were paying a la carte before. Mm-hmm. It includes all that and unlimited support. And in some cases, when people kind of looked at it, it's like, oh, well, I'm paying, let's call it $1,000 a month now with the break fix model. We're going to end up going to maybe $1,400, $1,500 with this increase. But managed services is only going to cost us like $900 or $1,000. So it's actually saving them money.
Right.
And I mean, even though that's technically money coming out of my pocket, it kind of comes back to what we were talking about earlier. I knew that $1,000 or $900 was guaranteed to come to me no matter what, versus the average of $1,000.
Right.
So,
right. Did you have a lot of trepidation sending out that letter, and did you have a lot of attrition once you sent it out, or those two questions?
Honestly, I did start it off with like some of my smaller ones, like kind of like the ones that were like, okay, this is BS. I'm not, you can't do this, or you're going to, you're getting greedy or something like that. It really wasn't. I didn't get any pushback at all. Also, at that time and including now, it's a very good time to do it because of the amount of risk out there and the amount of ransomware and hackers and stuff like that. People need protection. They don't want somebody to kind of just, rely on when there's only a problem. They want somebody to know that, they can sleep better at night knowing that you're watching over their network. If something sounds or looks fishy or something, there's alerts being alerted, to them, to you, to, if you have like a SOC team or something, that somebody's watching. So I actually did not get really any pushback, the couple of that small ones that I did. As a matter of fact, believe it or not, I actually accidentally sent the letter to a home user at that time. I filtered out all the home users out, but I missed one. And they were the first ones to call me and say, we want this managed services.
That's interesting.
They're very good people. They're actually still, they're the only home user managed services we have right now, and they're still managed services. So I started sending it out to the bigger clients. And at that point, I kind of, what I did is I showed them exactly what they were paying before, under the break fix model. I showed them the last couple of invoices or like their average, and I showed them what it would be afterwards. And in a lot of cases, it was, like I said, either a little cheaper, around the same. Maybe if it was a little more, it's because they realized that they were getting a lot more. And, the little more is because they're probably a bigger one, bigger client, and they were already getting a lot of calls.
So what would you say, like, for this audience, just when you're looking back on it, what would you think of one or two, or, whatever number actually of things that you would say were the most critical factors or decisions that contributed to reaching that first million milestone?
I mean, it's a lot of the combination of everything that I mentioned. I mean, it's the TMT with giving you the tools to really reach out to prospects, and then it was the community, to kind of help you get through some obstacles. And then it was the vendors, like, because you can, like Robin says, like, you're going to have the best marketing in the world, but if your product is shit, it's not going to last, Right. So you have to have a good product. You have to be selling a good product and show that it's different than the next person after you. A lot of people will be speaking to 3 prospects, but you need to have, you need to show them that, like, it's never going to be apples to apples, and this is why our apple is better than this guy's tangerine, and then on top of that, finally, it's really, the team that you have, in the community. Really, it's just like the people that will help you, like Satima Fowler. Like, she's a senior person, expert in resident, and just learning how to know what to say and what to ask when you're speaking in front of that prospect. Like, what is it that's keeping you up at night? A lot of people, including myself in the very beginning, I would come in and say, I've been in IT for X amount of years. Here's my prices,
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they're like, okay, well, thank you for this. And they're not impressed, or they're like, okay, well, yeah, maybe he is cheaper, or this guy maybe a little more expensive, but seems like we're getting more for what we're paying. So it's stuff like that, from every point you learn something new.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I talked a lot. I hope I answered the question.
No, I think you answered it. I just, for reference, the team is, one of our experts in residence here. She owned and grew an MSP to a really nice multiple, and now she teaches sales training here, along with Ray Green. I guess the kind of final thought I have for your question, I'd like to get your thoughts on is what's next for your business. I mean, you've grown now past 2 million. You kind of you got some mojo going. What's next, and what are your goals going forward?
Well, I mean, for me right now, I'm kind of enjoying the ride, because, I'm not just talking about the ride that you guys gave me, at Team T. I'm enjoying the ride of growing, my company from, we're approaching the $3 million mark, where last year we just broke $2 million, and the year before that was 1 million. So I'm trying, I'm enjoying the ride, growing it as best of my ability. And, I have 2 kids, a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old. So, my plan, is to pass it down to one of them, after they get their education and go to college and stuff like that, to kind of pass it along, make it a family business that, I started, and kind of just have something, a legacy to hand on to somebody, or pass on to somebody.
I mean, that's great. I think at the rate you're growing, you'll be back on here soon to talk about your first $1 million in net profit. Seems like you know at the rate you're tearing it up. Right, it was great to have you on here. I'm happy you're a spokesman. It's great to get to spend time with you. I appreciate you taking the time to give some insight to other MSPs.
I love it, Rob. Thank you very much for having me. I had a great time, and I would love to come back if you'll have me.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds great. I think that wraps it up for us. So thank you for listening. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.